I haven't been to a Target though in forever, dude. I haven't been to a Target in like 2 years. It's actually kind of insane. My going to Target and being in a relationship thing were like kind of correlated. Like anytime I've been in a relationship, I end up at Target like at least twice a week. If I'm single, I'm never there. It's actually insane. I don't know how to describe it to you, but it is an actual correlation. What's my opinion on Target? Dude, I loved Target when I was in college. I would always go to Target in college because it was close to my campus. And I would stack up on the snackies. You get like bags of cheese for like $2. So I'd buy like 2 or 3 bags of like Tostino's chips. And then like 3 or 4 bags of little cheese. And I'd have nachos for like the next like 2 weeks. It was fire. It'd be like $15 or $20 for 2 weeks of nachos in my room. Fire. And then when it really got bad though, I actually bought a cheese grater, like one of, like, not like an actual like where you like spin it, but like just like the, you know, the flat ones, and you just like, you know, rub it up against it. Then I would buy blocks of cheese, and I would do that. American Diet. Oh, I'm sorry, American Diet, dude. You ever heard of college before, where you literally only have a microwave in your room? Listen, I'm all for dunking on Americans, dude. Like we got some shit here, but like, dude, use your brain for like 2 seconds. Like, please, like, Chronically Online, I swear to God, has like actually souped into people's brains, and they only have certain responses to certain things. Like, if you're in college, other than going to the dining hall, or you live in like a certain townhouse or apartment, you literally have one means, maybe 2, of cooking food. That's it. Because otherwise it's not allowed. I don't think I was allowed to have a toaster when I was in college. I think the only thing we were allowed is a microwave and maybe a rice. Was even a rice cooker even allowed? I don't remember. I remember microwave was allowed, but a lot of things were like off. Like, I think like slow cook or pressure cookers were off. Slow cookers were off. Rice cookers not allowed. Okay, rice cookers not allowed. Coffee pot? Probably not. You could probably get a hot plate though. You can probably get away with a hot plate. Would you just smuggle those things in your room? Yeah, but you can, depending on where you go, and depends on how serious they take like that you can get in big trouble. Like some schools, like they don't care a ton, and I guess it depends on who you're like. What the f is it called? Your RA? Like when you're like your resident, you know, resident advisor. I guess it depends on how much they care. But depending on who you got, you could be. Never heard of people not allowed to cook certain stuff at colleges. Colleges have very strict rules about this stuff because, one, college kids are fucking stupid. They don't want you burning down your room / the building. So they want to remove any sources of fire, flames, anything they can do. I mean, I've told stories a million times. Like when I sophomore year, like I spent half the winter outside at night because of fire drills, because we had like these 2 groups of kids that were like, God, I hate after saying like, but they were very like stupid rich. It was a small group of students. They were from China, and they all drove like brand new AMG plus sports cars, all like $200,000 vehicles. And what they would do is they'd sit outside the dorms all day long, just like rev their engines. I'm not joking. That's what they'd sit there. There was a pink one, there was a yellow one. The yellow one was the only one that was nice. There was an orange one, and then a couple others had like other ones. Like one had like a Lotus, which actually that thing was kind of fire. And then at night they would just smoke in their rooms. And so when they would smoke in their rooms, they tripped the fire alarm, and they didn't give a because like they didn't care, you know. So like it would ruin everyone else's experience, but then, you know, for them it didn't really matter. So yeah, it was kind of a, you know, it's kind of a something. Smoke ganja? No, it was cigarettes. It was cigarettes. I mean, there were kids that did that too, but at least the weed smokers, the weed smoker kids actually were smart, and they knew how to do it without, 1, smelling up the place, and 2, tripping the fire alarms, because they were careful, because that actually was serious, because in Rhode Island it was not legal. So they had tricks of the trade, and they were incredibly crafty. But the cigarette kids didn't give a f. They just did it because like they could get away with it, you know. And anytime they got, so okay, there was a few stories I've had that have always stuck with me my whole life. I mean, for those who don't know, I grew up extremely poor. Like my mom was a single mom. I don't want to say we like grew up in the projects, but like we basically did. Like My mom worked her absolute ass off. And so I didn't really have much when I grew up, and I'm exceptionally lucky to have what I have now. But I remember being in college, and like it was like my first reality check. It was like second reality check, because I went to high school with a lot of rich kids, but not like this type of rich. Like this type of rich was different. Like for example, there was this one girl. She drove a Kia. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was a Stinger. But she drove a nice Kia, and basically she had it like upgraded to shit with like every performance upgrade money could buy. Like a vanity plate that like, I don't know if it remember said her name or something like that. But basically she didn't give a fuck. Like she had zero care about anything in life. Because her father, and she would openly talk about this like it was no big deal, how rich her father was. So much so, my sophomore year, which was my first year at Bryant, because I transferred in, there was a big parking problem because that year they had let in the most amount of freshmen ever, and they all had like so basically what schools do is schools set out like, you know, let's say they send out 100,000 accepted letters. They expect like 50,000 of those to say yes, right? What happened was parking was so bad. This is why I loved it, because I had a truck at the time, and then I had my Durango. So in the winter, when they put all the snow in a certain area, I'd park on the snowbanks with the Jeep kids. It was fire. All the Jeep kids, like the kids who had the big Jeeps with the big ass tires, they'd park on the snowbanks, and then I'd park on the snowbanks with my fucking beat up Durango, dude. Because that thing, it had a super powered V8 engine. It was loud, it was mean, and I didn't really care about it that much. So, dude, we'd all be sitting on these snowbanks like this. It was fire. God, I don't like Dodge that much, but I'm not gonna lie to you. My Durango, other than my F-150, was probably my favorite car. That thing was fucking awesome. I miss that thing. Point is, though, she, coming all the way back, did not like walking. So what she would do is she would park on the sidewalk, like the literal fucking sidewalk of the college. So like there was this big ass parking lot. They built a new building over there. And so basically she would literally just drive up on the sidewalk and park there. And she would get ticketed every single day for parking on the sidewalk. And she would pay it every single day. Because to her, paying $50 or $100 of a parking ticket was so fucking beneath her that it was worth, one, getting to get to school late, because one, she didn't have to look for a parking spot, and two, if she found a parking spot, it was probably in Narnia, and so you'd have to walk all the way across campus for it. She didn't want to walk all the way across campus, and she didn't want to have to look for a parking spot, so she just parked on the sidewalk. And I had this conversation with her, and I was like, how do you think that's like okay? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm not like blocking anyone's path. Like they can just walk around my car. It's not like in the way. And I was like, yeah, but you're literally parking on the sidewalk. Like imagine if everyone did that. And she's like, well, everyone doesn't do that. And I was like, right, because you're not supposed to and you get fined. And she's like, yeah, and I get fined. And I go, yeah, because that's supposed to deter you. The reason it doesn't affect you is because you have so much money, or your dad has so much money, that you're allowed to do that. If everyone got to do that, it would be just absolute pandemonium. And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I was like, okay, so then why do you do it? And she was like, well, it's only me. So, I'm not joking. It just did not, one-to-one did not click. Did not click. And I had a class with her, and actually it was funny, it was actually a class that I really hated. And I've told the story about this guy really, really bad, like a bunch of times. Because I fucking hated this dude. He actually called me out in his class and said I was the reason why his class wasn't having a paradigm shift. And I was like, no, it's not having a paradigm shift because you're a fucking moron. That was good times. Good times. But I remember one time she commented to me, she's like, I like your style a lot. Like you actually like speak your mind. You're not afraid of people. It's very rare. And I was like, uh-huh. And I was like, the only reason you do it is because you're not afraid of the repercussions. Point is though, not the point. Yeah, it was one of my first reality checks that, like, there's a certain, like, systems and laws and stuff that we have here as, like, deterrents in society, like, for keep things like that happening. But there's a certain point where you get, like, you'll get so rich that you don't even care. Like, dude, I won't order delivery if I have, okay, so, first off, I have, like, you know, like, DoorDash Plus or whatever it's called, right? There's like certain things that like if it's too far and you have to get charged an extra delivery fee, I won't buy it. But yeah, it was a very interesting wake-up call of my life to see that was like a thing, you know? For people with mobility issues or parking in a footpath blocks that affects them, the sidewalk was wide enough that you could still technically get around it. So like that argument wouldn't totally have held up in that conversation. But then again, we were not having a very logical conversation. Like we were having a logical versus like benefits type of conversation. So like it was a very different type of way to phrase that interaction, I guess. Like the ramps, you know how like you have like the sidewalk ramps? She would use the sidewalk ramp to get her car up so that she wouldn't bang her front bumper. So she would use that ramp and then like pull up a little bit more. So she wasn't actually blocking anything, but like she was still parked on the fucking sidewalk. You know what I mean? It was bad. It was really, really bad. But I mean, her dad was like a literal, like one of the first actual people I've ever met. Like I didn't meet him, but like the actual like connected to legitimate multi-millions. Like donates to the school all the time, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. But yeah, it was very interesting. It was very, very interesting. But it's funny, like there was a lot of people I met there that had you could actually kind of tell. And college is very interesting because you can kind of tell the kids who have like a lot versus the kids who have like, you know, decent standards of living versus the kids who have zero, right? Like you could very much tell the difference. Because the kids who had zero that weren't athletes weren't around. Like they weren't at parties. You didn't see them that often. Like those were people that were like working, you know? Those were people that would like work. Those were people that, you know, they'd commute every day. Like that's what those people did, you know? How did I afford college? Because my situation seems close to yours. I took out absolutely insane loans that I have very luckily got to pay back because of amazing events like the brig event, the brig gifties event that happened last summer was insane and actually basically saved me, and now I can start working upwards in life. You know, it's funny, it wasn't even just me though. It saved actually tons of people in the Overwatch scene. There were so many people in the Overwatch scene that were really, really, really hurting in Overwatch 1, and that event really gave them the big bump that they needed to get to Overwatch 2. But like, people were so angry at that event. Like, people genuinely hated me at that event, just because I was like, "Whew, cool event. I'm basically doing this so I pay off my student loans. See you there." And it was just a meme that we did on stream, and like people took it and ran with it. And I was like, "All right, dude." That's why I don't post Twitter no more. What was the event? So basically, last summer, during beta 2, there was an event with Brig, where if you gifted 3 subs to your favorite streamers, which granted, there was actually one big part of the program that actually made sense that people could be upset about, it was not a Twitch-wide event. It was from a list of streamers that Blizzard and Twitch or whoever had come up with. And I heard there was a lot of reasons behind that, like nothing from like Blizzard, but I heard from like other people. Like I think like Toaster said like one time, like I saw him make a tweet about it, that like the reason it couldn't be everybody was because of like money laundering and shit like that. So yes, that part actually was legitimate criticism of, you know, it wasn't for not every streamer had it, which obviously sucks. But basically what the event was, if you gifted 3 subs to certain streamers, you ended up getting an in-game brig skin. It's actually, let me see, I'll show you this skin. So like, in all honesty, not a crazy skin. I think if it was a crazier skin, I think people would have been like more bonkers about it, but that was actually one of the craziest days of my whole life. Like, we were all sitting on the beach, and then 2 o'clock hit when the event went off, and my alerts were backed up for like the next like 2 hours. It was wild. It felt like a bit of a test run. Yeah, it wasn't like, I feel like it wasn't supposed to be as like blown up as it was, and I was really disappointed with that, because it's probably like, I assume that'll probably never happen again now because of the negative stigmatism around it. But there was ways to improve it. I don't think getting rid of it entirely was the way to go. Obviously, I say that because it benefited me, but not only because of that, because I feel like I look at a lot of things in streaming and in life, and I can look at things past my own personal benefit, because it benefited a lot of people. There was a lot of people that got a lot of good out of it. Anyway, it was going to a cause that wasn't like corporate America. It was like a very different type of cause, and it was like, you know, a lot of people watch streams, and like watching streams for free is totally fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, it was like all of a sudden, because of that, because like there was like this collaboration event that like, you are now corporate Blizzard America, and it's like, whoa, 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 slow the f down. You know, people called it favoritism. Oh, I saw a lot of the shit that was getting thrown around, and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair at all, the shit that was getting thrown around. But there's nothing you can say, because if you say something about it, then it's like, oh, because you're one of the people that like get to be in the good graces, so it's different for you. It's like, dude, that's not even how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it more objectively, but it doesn't matter. People don't want to hear my opinion at that point. So it's like, God, that was such an interesting time in Overwatch history. Cool, people could apply for it. Logistically, that's really hard to do. Think about that. Like, imagine if you opened up the applications to everyone. There'd be hundreds, thousands. Who's gonna go through the thousands of applications for that? You know what I mean? Maybe a minimum sub count. That would even be worse, because then you'd be keeping it behind how much your community spends on you. Like, that's because at that point you're targeting communities that spend more money, as opposed to ones that don't spend as much money. You see what I'm saying here? There's a lot of things that become problems here. There is not easy answers. If there was easy answers, we could come up with it and talk about it immediately. Minutes of Overwatch streamed. Still more problems there with that. Because then, you know, let's say someone like XQC wants the event, which he ended up having it, by the way, and everyone. So one of the funniest things from that event was people were really upset that streamers like XQC and Asmongold had the event, and they were like, "Why not support small streamers?" Which is so interesting. It came out of nowhere. That was like, you're marketing a new game, and big streamers want to be involved with your stuff, and you're like, them only support small streamers. Like let's get a dose of reality here for a sec, because I was a small streamer about 2 years ago. You don't come to flats at 300 viewers, be like, yeah, this guy's gonna promote our game. When someone has 20 or 50 or 100,000 viewers, like, oh, I want to be a part of your game. Like think about that for like 2 seconds. Like, who is gonna actually give you the money out of for your budget? You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna actually give you pull? I think you know the answer. Anyways, though, everyone was upset that XQC and Asmongold were a part of this like big event. You know, they were part of like this like gifted event, and they're like, oh, them, the rich get richer, all this stuff. And then they didn't even stream Overwatch. They didn't even touch Overwatch the entire event, and they never even participated in the Gifties event, because they were actually grandfathered in from the first beta. They didn't even participate, and everyone got so fucking mad. So Asmon played. I'm pretty sure Asmon played on his second account. I don't think he played on his main. When Asmon played on his when he played Overwatch at that time, I'm pretty sure it was his second account, which wasn't flagged for the event. It was only his main. I'm like 90% sure, because he used to play it at night on his second account, on his you know, his second Twitch account. Point is, though, everyone was so mad. Everyone was pissed. Probably because, like, we don't need the money. Maybe, but I also just think they didn't want to play the second beta. The second beta was kind of boring. There was, like, nothing cool. Like, there was just Junker Queen. That's it. There was nothing cool about it. Remember, if you go look at the numbers and anything about this, your Twitch numbers, or you want to go look at Google Trends charts for the year, you'll see on April 26th, it goes whoop. And then if you see that like June, the second beta, the peak is half of the first peak, if not less. And it lasted not even close to as long. It went right back to viewership in like 3 days. Because people didn't care about the second beta. And that's when that event was running. From a pragmatic perspective, it's better to support a large variety streamers to maximize the number of new eyes on the game. Well, also, there's also some validity to that, but there's also validity to, like, these are also people that are around for, like, so long that, like, something as sensitive as this, which can be very much abused for like literal money laundering, they're probably not going to money launder. You know what I mean? Like there's almost like a trust factor. And I think there's other trust factors as well. Like, you know, it's something that's not really talked about in Overwatch very often. And I actually, God, I don't even know if yeah, f dude, I'm in the mood. I'm down to start some fights today. There was a time where people used to get really, really upset because, like, I think it was like, especially during the betas, like content creators like knew the patch before like pros did, and they're like, why don't the pros know? Like, dude, every time the like the contenders players or hell even Overwatch League players found out patch notes, it was leaked within like an hour. Like, I don't think there's ever been a patch that was like disclosed privately to like the pro scene that didn't get leaked within like 30 minutes to an hour. Like, remember the one, there was one recently. It was the Genji one. The Genji nerfs? Remember the Genji nerfs for Overwatch League? Like, remember Overwatch League got like a patch for finals and they got the patch like 2 weeks early? Dude, that got leaked in like an hour. You know? It got leaked in like an hour. I think it's just harder to keep accountable at that point, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy. I think it's easier to track down content creator leaks than pro player leaks, because it's like so-and-so told so-and-so and so-and-so told so-and-so, and then they told a bunch of people, and it's like, how did they find out? Pletz told me, yup. Oh no. I mean, that's just genuinely the truth, though. That's not even throwing shade. That is genuinely just the truth. That is actually how it's worked every single time. So, like, at some point, you know, you can't even be upset if they don't want to, like, tell anyone things. You know what I mean? Pletz is a certified leaker. Oh, I've talked about this on stream before. I actually am. Dude, so, remember when XQC leaked, him playing Overwatch 2 early? That was, like, a big thing. He opened up on stream, was like, oh my god, and he, like, closed it. You guys remember that last year? You know I did that first, right? Just nobody found out. You guys know that, right? I did. I'm not even joking. I actually did. Story time? Okay, so XQC opened up this test build on stream. He freaked out, Alt F4'd it. Took him a minute, but it's like, it opened up the same way that Overwatch 2 does now, where it opens up to the Overwatch 2 logo. And he was like, oh my god, and like closed out of it. What I did was I opened it up, and then I got into the menus, and I literally went to the training range. I went into the training range, and I went, because I was looking at Sojourn, and I was like, and I just went like this, and I just closed out. But the point was, though, I was on this and hadn't even realized. And I play with music off. So there was no music. Because like the Overwatch 2 music plays, there was no music because I play with no music on. And I was on the wrong scene like an absolute idiot. But it saved me. It saved me, and I panicked, and I alt-tabbed it. I alt-F4'd out. And I was like, oh my god. And I like went over, and I was like, instantly deleted the bot, instantly everything. And chat's like, what's going on? What's happening? And I was just like, I literally didn't say a word. I just sat there and just hit, everything just got deleted. I deleted absolutely everything. I was like, hold on, like that, gone. Because you could hear in the background, you could hear that the noises were different, but I was on the wrong scene the whole time. So you didn't actually see it. I was like, holy, we're good. So then, like 3 days later, I had turned my settings up because I had fixed some stuff on my PC with Eevee, and I walked out of the training range. So I did this. Ready? Some people might remember this. I picked cast and I walked out of the training range. I went like this, and then I paused because I saw snowflakes, and I went, and I just literally alt F4'd out, and everyone was like, then I went full screen, and everyone was like, what? Well, why'd you do that? And then I was like triple checking to make sure, like, you know, like, holy f, like, did I just do it again? But I was actually in Overwatch 1 that time, so it was chill. But because I panicked and like freaked out and like in alt F4'd out, everyone got really suspicious. It was like, why did you do that? Like, why did you do that? And then I made up some bullshit. on the spot. I don't remember what I said. And the XQC thing had already gotten leaked at that point. So everyone was like, wait, what did you think you saw? I was like, nothing. Nothing at all. I was real scared. I thought I'd f***ed up. And I can't believe I almost leaked it first, dude. That would have been awful.